Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Global Education's virtual expo for September in 2021. Wow, it's already September. We just can't believe how time flies now. I hope you're all keeping safe. And most importantly, for everybody that's listening in tonight, please note this webinar is recorded and we will be sharing it again through the landing pages on the website where you would have signed up on, as well as resharing it through social media and also with your school counselors. So if you haven't got it from your school counselors, please let us know and we'll gladly reshare it with you as well. This evening, we're very lucky again to have a Russell Group member university, the University of Exeter. We've got the international officer here with us who looks after our region, Taylor Wern, who's with us. And Taylor works hand in hand with our team. He's brilliant. He knows what he's talking about. And he's also been there. That's also a key thing. You know, he knows what it takes. So please, put your questions in the chat box in the Q&A section. Don't be shy. My name's George, and Global, we look after students, help counsel them, get them through the entire process. You know, we've all done it. We all know what to expect. And if your mom and dad is listening, don't worry. We'll make sure that, you know, everybody's looked after. It takes a family, you know, to raise a kid and especially to send a kid from South Africa overseas. So Taylor, I'll leave you to share your screen and good luck.
Okay, ideal. Thanks very much, George. Bear with me, guys, just while I fire up my screen in the right way, and then we'll make a start. So, 2 seconds. I'm getting there. I've only been doing it for 18 months, the virtual stuff. So, okay. Hopefully, you guys can see the screen. I'm going to assume you can, and I'll make a start.
Sorry, Taylor. There we go. All good.
All good. Okay. Cool. Okay, cool. Thanks very much, George, for the introduction. It's fantastic to be here this evening with you virtually, guys. Thanks very much for taking your time to hear what I've got to speak about this evening. Very much this session is about engaging with you guys and making sure that you have all the questions that you have answered by the end. Okay, so in that light, I'm gonna talk a bit about the University of Exeter. I'm gonna highlight some of our key you know, the key highlights for the university, really, that the key things that you would need to know as someone who might be considering coming to the UK, but also considering studying Russell Group University. I'm going to also talk a bit about sort of what that means as a South African student or a Zimbabwe student coming to the UK, some of the things you need to consider. And of course, at the end, I'll leave time for questions. Whenever you see the QR codes on the screen, guys, this is an opportunity for you. Just give it a quick scan and see what there is. This one is if you want to keep in touch, find out more from me, and get a sort of summary of what I've talked about after this. But wherever you see them come up, have a look and see if it's of interest. I'm going to assume you guys don't know anything about Exeter, okay? So I'm going to talk you through the key points. Some of them you may have heard of before, some of them I'll probably repeat, but we'll see how it goes. These are some of the key points that I think you would need to know as a student thinking about studying in the UK, but also with Exeter. So as George mentioned in his opening, we're a member of the UK's Russell Group. And for those of you who are not sure what that is, the Russell Group is a group of 24 leading research-intensive universities in the UK. So you know, they're sort of high-quality, high-tariff institutions which are led by their research activity, and therefore, you know, the influence of research on teaching is really prevalent. So much of the teaching that's done at a Russell Group University will be led, you know, authored and written by a lecturer, an academic who is often world leading in that field of study, that field of research. At the University of Exeter, we've got just over 27,000 students. And those students are from over 150 different countries. And if you think about size of a university, you know, the largest university in the UK, University of Manchester, has well over 45,000 students. And the smallest one has about 1,000 or 2,000. So Exeter is about a medium-sized university. We'll look at where we are in the country geographically in a moment. We're a global top 150 university in two of the you know, world rankings, the QS World University Rankings and the Times Higher Education University Rankings. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Yeah, we've got a huge alumni base. You know, we've been sending you know, graduates into the working environment for many years. We're over 145,000 alumni in 183 different countries. We're also the most popular university in England for undergraduates from South Africa, out of interest for you guys. This is where we are. We're obviously in the UK, we're specifically in England, and on the right-hand side of my screen here, you can see where we are. Ignore the London bit, that's just a reference point. We're in the southwest, Exeter and Penryn. We have 2 campuses in Exeter and 1 in Penryn. So this next slide is just going to show you a video, 30 seconds, of a couple of the campuses that we have in Exeter. Okay, so just that was a very quick overview, guys, of what campuses we have in Exeter. And what you saw there were both the Streatham campus in this picture here, and also our St Luke's campus. So very quickly on these, the Streatham campus is by far our largest campus, and that's home to about 18,000 students, or undergraduates, postgraduates, PhD students. So it's by far our largest campus. This is about a 20-minute walk from the city centre of Exeter. So although it's a campus university where everything is in one place, you know, all of your academic buildings, student accommodation, sports park, etc., everything's in one place, but it's a very short walk to the city centre. And that's not always very common for a campus university. Some universities which have campuses are often several miles away from the city. So worth bearing in mind when you're considering, you know, what you'd like from your sort of student life, really. And this is where we teach a broadest range of our subjects. I won't list them all. We would be here all evening. St Luke's campus. So this is about 25 to 30-minute walk away from Streatham campus, okay? And imagine in the middle of the 2 campuses, you've got the city of Exeter. So this is just on the other side of Exeter. What's at this campus? Well, there's about 4,000 students studying at this campus. It's a very short cycle away, as I said, a short walk as well. And here is where we have our medical school. So students who are studying any sort of medical related program, medical imaging, you know, radiography, nursing, medicine itself, medical sciences. What we've also got here is our sport and health sciences programs. You know, number of the labs that are shared between the 2 colleges actually of medicine and also sports science. So things like nutrition. We've also got things like nursing here, so mental health nursing, adult nursing, those kinds of programs. We have another campus, as you can see on the map on the bottom right there. We've got another campus in Cornwall, specifically in Penryn. We share this campus with another university. Let's have a little look at it in a video, and I'll talk about it in a moment. Okay, so that's the Penryn campus, and here's a sort of a drone shot of it, a drone image. And what you'll notice about this campus, firstly, is its surroundings. You know, it's in a naturally very stunning part of the country in the UK, in Cornwall. You know, Cornwall is the UK's you know, most popular domestic tourism location. It's got some of the nicest beaches and countryside and seaside in the country, a very short distance away from this campus. And what you'll find with this campus is that many of the programs have a real big focus, and indeed the research that's going on here, focus on sustainability, you know, the environment, the green agenda, climate change, that kind of stuff. So whilst we offer many programs at the Penryn campus, which are exclusive to the Penryn campus, things like animal behaviour, marine biology, zoology, renewable energy engineering. Those you can only study at the Penryn campus. We also have some programs that you could either study at the Penryn campus or at the Streatham campus. So those would be programs like business or history or law, variations of English, for example. So, there's a difference in student life. This is a much smaller town, it's not a big city like Exeter is, but obviously it's a very attractive location. I'm from Cornwall myself, so I'm a little bit biased. This is a really smart campus. I forgot to say, I was about to mention at the beginning, we share this campus with Falmouth University. Two universities here, separate universities on one campus. And Falmouth kind of a leading arts university in the UK, creative arts, etc. Okay, I'm happy to take any questions on that at the end. Why not show again about our rankings? This is a recent animation that came. I thought I'll chuck that in. That looks good. So these are two very new recent rankings that we had within the last sort of 5 weeks. The QS World Ranking, and on the right hand side there, Times Higher Education World University Ranking. We're now 143rd in the world in the THE rankings. That's a rise of 31 places on last year, which is a sensational testament really to the university's hard work and quality really. So just to flag that with you. Okay, I always tell you guys at this point, I'm not going to give you a full history of Exeter. Again, we would be here for a long time. I'm just going to say that although it opened as a school much earlier than 1955, we had a university status awarded in 1955 by the Queen. There she is. Let's bring it up to a much more recent date. So sort of 9 years ago, we joined the Russell Group. So prior to that, we were not a member of the Russell Group, but in 2012, we joined as a member of the Russell Group. In 2015, we were ranked in the World Top 100 for the first time. In 2017, we were one of only 9 Russell Group universities to receive a gold standard award for our teaching excellence. And so of all the Russell Group universities, only 9 of those received that sort of gold standard mark for the quality of their teaching and the excellence of their teaching. Something we're very proud of. The reason I highlight that is because that's important for your students to know about this. You're going to be taught at university by these people. So what sort of awards does it have? What the accreditation say about that? And I couldn't really talk about Russell Group and research universities without highlighting what Exeter is particularly strong at in terms of its research. In particular, climate and environment, that's a key one for Exeter. With 5 of our academics from our sort of climate change research areas were ranked in the global top 20 about 6 weeks ago in the Reuters hot list, and they're the only 5 academics who are in that list from the UK. We've got a really strong partnership, for example, with the Met Office, who are headquartered in Exeter. And so there's big partnership opportunities and internship opportunities there. And that just sits really nicely with our research areas, for example, in clean growth, environmental intelligence, etc. You can see them all there. These are the kinds of areas where Exeter are actively publishing what's classified as world-leading research. And that's about how we get research grants and everything. So we're also the UK's fastest growing, the Russell Group's fastest growing research university. So you can see that in the past 10 years here, really, this is up until 2019, but we're sort of the Russell Group, the fastest growth in research capacity in terms of the number of staff that we're employing as researchers. So it would be well over 2,000 staff now researching actively. I'm going to show you this very quick video again to give you another break from me talking. It's about a minute and a half long. And this video is really following on from what I'm saying about the university, its teaching style, and hopefully from this you get a flavour about what it means to be a student at Exeter, and not just being in the lecture theatres in particular, but being out and about, being hands-on, working with the academics on their research.
At the University of Exeter, we don't just deliver research and education. we make new discoveries that transform people's lives. We bring understanding to challenging questions, and we share this new knowledge with the next generation. Our success has been built on a long tradition of learning. Our curiosity and passion to succeed means we challenge traditional thinking, transforming problems into solutions that make a real and lasting impact on the world of which we're a part. Everyone studying here is a critical partner in learning. Working as part of our community of talented academics, our students have the freedom to push boundaries and to dig deeper and achieve more than they ever thought possible. We don't follow the well-trodden paths or accept things the way they are, but instead encourage each other to defy traditional boundaries and be the very best we can be. A world-class university whose graduates go on to make a positive contribution to our world. Our mission and values will never change, and we use them to guide us to make the most of our resources, to invest in pioneering technologies and facilities. We make connections between our people, our students and our partners, so we make sense of the complex world around us and change it for the better. We make the exceptional happen.
Okay. Look, I hope you find that useful, guys. I always find it quite an insightful video, really, to get a sense of what it would be like as a student, out in the field, researching, that real difference between sort of high school and transitioning to not just university abroad, what it would be like, and some of the opportunities that you get. And I can see that there's some notifications in the chat. I'm gonna tackle those at the end. Let's move on. So what I've got here, instead of listing all of the programs that we offer, we offer over 400 different programs in over sort of 40 different subject disciplines. So what we've done is we sort of break this down into 6 what we call academic colleges. Okay, this is very much an administrative term, doesn't impact you too much, but this is the sort of the broadest sense of where we break our subjects up between. So you've got the business school, the College of Humanities, the College of Life and Environmental Sciences. You can see them all here laid out in front of you guys. So particularly from South Africa and Zimbabwe, many of the students will be studying in areas like the business school. It's very popular for our students, in particular from South Africa, but also in our social sciences college, where programs like law and psychology are also very popular. Of course, all these colleges are open to any of you, and I would encourage you to have a look on our web pages to see what subjects we offer within each of these colleges. Certainly one thing that I found when I was looking to go to university a while ago was that I found that a couple of years before university, I didn't know that many of the programs actually existed at university. So I ended up studying something called linguistics, which was a thing I knew nothing about 2 or 3 years before university, even 2 years before, maybe, yeah. So what the point of that is, have a look on the web pages at any of the universities you're thinking of, and you might find programs that you've not heard of before, but that are really suited to your interests. So please make use of the web pages to go into detail to see what different programs are and what variations of them they have. So moving on, Exeter, I said at the beginning, we've got over 27,000 students, and over 6,500 of students are international students. So about 26% of our student body nearly is international students, and it's something we're incredibly proud of. And it brings a real sense of diversity to Exeter. It really helps to shape the city, and certainly the community at the university itself on campus is diverse, and there's a lot going on, different societies. You can see in this picture the Hindu Society. So there's lots of things to get involved in, and participate in things from different parts of the world. There's of course a South African society. So yeah, lots to get involved in while you're at Exeter. Not just those societies, but in total we've got over 180 different societies and clubs to choose from. ranging from things like all of the sports you would know about to sort of water sports, etc. But also some of the weirder things like the Taylor Swift Society and stuff that many of you might want to get involved with, many of you might want to avoid. But there's just the point here is that there's lots of opportunity at Exeter and indeed at universities in general to try something new. One of the best things I did at university was joining society, and joining a sports club is you know, it's a way of making friends for life and stay in touch with people, and really making your experience memorable. So plenty of that to choose from at Exeter. So you may have seen some of the work we've been doing with our partners here at Global Education. You know, certainly our reputation in South Africa is a sporting one. The University of Exeter is a leading sports university in the UK. We're consistently ranked in the top 10 in BUCS across all sports that we compete in at BUCS level. You know, there's huge investments on the campus going into sport. We've got a massive infrastructure for sport on the campuses, and it's something that students take very seriously, as well as our sort of coaches for all the different sports setups. So, you know, a number of international athletes, right through to just novice athletes who turn up to university and want to try something new. To give you an example, our EURFC, the rugby club at Exeter University, has, I think, just over 10, I think it's 11 different teams in the rugby, right through from BUCS, you know, first team playing sort of top level rugby, through to sort of, you know, social leagues and stuff like that. So I'd encourage you to have a look at Exeter's sporting prowess on our webpage to find out more detail about the sport that you'd be interested in particular. And obviously happy to take any questions at the end on that. I'm not going to keep you too much longer, guys. I'm going to start to skip through these a little bit. Just to flag about careers, the university has its own career service. Of course, you know, employability as an international student coming to the UK, you want to be ensuring that the value that you know, the degree that you're getting, sorry, is going to add value to you when it comes to entering the employment market, whether that be overseas, back in your home country, or remaining in the UK. One way that universities support you with this is to offer a career service, advice, guidance, interview workshops, you know, assessment practice, etc. You know, over 95% of students approximately take some kind of work experience while they're at Exeter, and that might be a year internship, right down to sort of a semester or a couple of weeks here or there. So certainly something to bear in mind. Some of the employers that attend our careers fairs, which we have, you can see an image of one there in our great hall. You know, if we've got a huge range of big employers that come to university, this is a good way of you sort of networking, establishing contacts, and starting to think about the opportunities you might have as part of your degree. On that note as well, this July just gone, the UK government have initiated a graduate route, which is, just to touch on it briefly, is a sort of route that enables you to stay in the UK for up to 2 years after you graduate, and to look for work and to find work. If you're a PhD student, up to 3 years. But this is something as an international student you want to be aware of going forward. Obviously, you know, it's for after you graduate, so just have it on your radar and think about. But this should make it a lot more, a lot easier for you guys to remain in the UK, to look for graduate prospects should you wish to do so. Studying abroad is also a crucial thing at Exeter, so many students will take this opportunity. You know, for example, all of our business school programs, whether it be in accounting, finance, management, you know, economics, all of those business school degrees will offer the opportunity for a year abroad. So you can choose that if you like. We've got over 200 partners worldwide. Here are some of them. You know, I haven't listed all of them here. This gives you a real flavour of where our partners are. And so this would be, you know, you would do 2 years at the University of Exeter. You would then go abroad for your 3rd year to one of our partner universities, where the language of instruction would be English. You would return then to the University of Exeter for your 4th year. And it's important to note that in that year abroad, you don't pay the full tuition fee. It's usually around 15 to 20% of the tuition fee that you pay, because of course you'll incur some costs when you're overseas. Accommodation, I'm not going to touch this too much because I'm sure there might be questions on this at the end. To give you an overview, so we offer accommodation. We have a guarantee accommodation for international students who apply before the accommodation deadline. So that's at the end of July in the year that you're going to come to the university. And so as long as you're an international student, you've applied before the deadline, we will guarantee you university-owned and managed accommodation. About 75% of it in Exeter is on the campus itself. And the other 25% is in the city. The city centre accommodation, that's university accommodation, is never more than a 25, 30-minute walk away. As I said at the start, everything's very close by in Exeter, walking or cycling distance. And you have lots of options. So there's lots of new accommodation that's being built. Much of the accommodation is self-catered. We also have catered options as well, where your meals will be provided. Guys, by far the best way to find out about accommodation is to get on our web pages, search accommodation. There's virtual tours. There's lots of that. It's the same kind of story for Cornwall, our Penryn campus. The guarantee is still there. We've got some accommodation on campus, which you can see here on the top left picture. Some about a 15-minute walk away, the slidings, and then some other accommodation in Falmouth, which is a short bus ride away. Again, catered or self-catered for first years. In the second and third year at all of our campuses, you would then look to move from the campus to the private rental market. If you're moving away from the campus, you can only live on campus in first year for the majority of circumstances. I'm not going to touch too much on living costs, but it's important to factor this in. Roughly speaking, the cost that you'll be incurring, sort of listed here, is massively dependent. So depending on how much sport you get involved in, is there travel fees, is there match fees, etc. How much you go out and socialize with your friends, how much you spend on food shopping, how much you spend on, clothes shopping, whatever it is. Just important, start to think about this. Start to think how you'll do that at university. Will you get a part-time job at university? Just start to think about it and have it on your radar really. Then if you would like to know more about sort of opportunities for scholarships, exeter.ac.uk/funding search. That sounds fairly tedious and boring. It's actually not. It's really useful. It's a really effective tool that I would encourage you to use. It asks you to type in if you're a prospective undergraduate or postgraduate, which country you're from, which subject you want, and it will throw up all the options that are there for you. And if it's not updated for 2022 entry yet, then it will be soon. So in the next couple of weeks. So just keep your eye on that. We offer a range of scholarships, guys. So the one for undergraduates is this top one, and this is for undergrad and postgrad. And that would be an academic sort of merit-based scholarship based on your attainment in your essay NSC or in your ZIMSEC. And a short application, 500 words, etc. And those would either be £5,000, £10,000, or full tuition fee scholarship off of your first year of study only. Again, exeter.ac.uk/funding search. Have a look at that because there may be sort of pots of money available just to help you and help support you, financially before you arrive to university. In terms of tuition fees, this for this academic year, so it may change next year, but that's to be published yet. They sort of range. They start really undergraduate from £18,800 per year for our business school. BMBS is Bachelor of Medicine, Bachelor of Surgery, 5-year medicine degree, which is a massive outlier in terms of its cost at £37,000. Engineering, some of those programs you can expect around £23,000, £24,000. But again, all the fees are listed for each program on our webpage, so do have a look at that. In terms of academic entry requirements, typically you're looking for a sort of between really 3 A's to 2 A's and a B, and the broadest range is A star AA to 3 B's because we have such a wide variety of programs, and some of them are more competitive than others. But typically you're looking at here are the South African Zimbabwe entry requirements. You can the equivalent of 3 A's, which is a typical offer for Exeter, or 2 A's and B. So 3 7s, 2 6s in the NSC, for example. Obviously, ZIMSEC grades are identical to our A-level requirements. So yeah, 3 A's, 2 A's and a B, it varies. We look to apply maximum flexibility at the admissions process, particularly in the last 18 months. We're fully understanding of how students have been learning in the last couple of years and the difficulties that causes. So the team will always look to apply maximum flexibility should you sort of miss a grade or anything like that. Okay, English language requirements. We accept the English stuff from the South Africa NSC, the ZIMSEC, or IELTS, any of that kind of stuff that will need to be shown. It's part of the admissions process. All the information is on those QR codes, guys. So if you're concerned or have questions about English language requirements, please do check that out. Some of the key USPs again about Exeter here. So in terms of employment rate, that's just over 90% at the moment. From the latest stats. I said earlier, we've got over 400 programs to choose from in over 40 subject areas. In past 4 weeks, we've been ranked in the top 150 globally in two world university ranking tables. And we've got over 27,000 students from over 150 different countries. So lots of things that we're very proud of and that we would want you to know as prospective Exeter students. Here's some sort of rough figures about numbers. So numbers of students from Zimbabwe, South Africa there, and then numbers of students from overseas, and then the broader student body. And I'd encourage you from today, if you're interested in Exeter, to have a look at the opportunities for open days. That these are taking place in the autumn this year, in the coming couple of months, really. And there's a mixture of sort of virtual activity as well as face-to-face. So, of course, given the restrictions, you'll be interested to know about the virtual activity that's going on. Opportunities to meet with academics online, to speak with current students like yourselves, and to find out more, from people who aren't people like me, find out from the people that are studying the subject right now, the people who are teaching it right now. That will help with your university decision making. And then also on the same QR, the same destination, there'll be a link to our virtual tours. The great thing about our virtual tours is that you can do them by subject. So, for example, if you're a student sat there thinking, I want to study law at Exeter, well, you can do a specific tour just for prospective law students, which will be delivered by a current law student, and they will talk you through what kind of facilities they have, what kind of facilities they use day to day, what the subject's like, where the building is for law, as well as all the general stuff. So, the sports part, the accommodation. So it's a really nice way of doing it while you can't visit the UK. And then, of course, going forward as things ease up, I'd be delighted to welcome any of you to the campus for a visit when it's safe to do so. I'm going to stop sharing now. There's my email address. So I'm very happy to take any email questions if you didn't want to ask the question in the chat or on this call. And if you'd like to find out sort of more from me, scan the QR and we can keep in touch. But other than that, to say thank you very much for your time, and let's have a look at some questions.
Taylor, thank you very much. That was really interesting sort of presentation as well. Those videos were really well presented in terms of looking at the campus and the way it was built. It isn't really old university. Is there a modern feel to it as well, like in terms of like the research and modern tech side, and what does that kind of look like?
That's a really good question. So there's a real nice mixture, and I'm going to talk specifically about the campus in my virtual background here, the Streatham campus, which is our largest campus. So as you can see from the photos, and the videos there, it's a real mixture of sort of traditional old red brick, English university buildings. But the University of Exeter Streatham campus also has buildings that are extremely sort of modern, and you can see that from the video. Buildings like the Forum, that sort of large glass fronted building that you saw in the video, which creates a really nice feel on the campus. There's massive contrast between new and old. There's one building on our campus which was voted one of the ugliest buildings on any university campus, and then you've got next to it one of the most stunning buildings on the campus as well. So it's a nice mixture of old buildings that look interesting and then new buildings that look really cool. There's lots of green space as well. So many of our students sort of highlight that as something that they're happy about, particularly in the last 18 months. Having a lot of outdoor space to unwind in. University can be stressful. There's lots of work to do. So having a really nice environment, physical environment around you, it certainly helps our students. And you know, the
Yeah.
Penryn campus itself is relatively new. It was built within the last 15 years in Cornwall, and it was Cornwall's first university campus. So yeah, that's still being built in the last 18 months. We've had a massive new building go up there. So all the time, you know, the campus is growing, it's expanding. The Streatham campus has got another 1,700 bedrooms built on it in the last 12 months. So you know, it's changing all the time. But yeah, is there full campus?
Is there like a course, like one of the questions we always get at Global is, especially with students that aren't sure of what they want to study. And our philosophy is always to find something that you're passionate about, that you're going to spend the time, you know, really wanting to get your hands dirty with. What do you see a trend in, like, you know, health sciences now, the pandemic, or engineering or law? What are the couple of trends that you're seeing come through?
Yeah, that's certainly actually something that I've noticed recently, and in particular from the African, you know, the African continent and various countries there, is that you know, the pandemic has really highlighted that, you know, there's a massive need for healthcare, and there needs to be more capacity, more, you know, to deliver on that. So we have seen this year an increased interest in our healthcare programs, whether it be at undergraduate or postgraduate level. But yeah, you know, other than that, the subjects outside of that, subjects that students are applying to often stay the same, you know, in terms of numbers of applications and stuff. You touched upon at the beginning of your question that you know, when we do this at Exeter, I would always encourage students to just choose the subject that, you know, the course that they're qualified to go on to study, but that they're most interested in, not just academically but personally, because, you know, spending 3 years of your life at a university studying a subject is great if you're good at the subject, and it's even better if you really like the subject, you know, personally and outside, you know, professionally, personally, academically. So yeah, but yeah, you know, on that point as well about sort of health programs and whether or not more students are applying to that, universities, including Exeter, but other UK universities, of course, will always be adapting their programs that they offer in accordance with you know, global needs and UN Sustainable Development Goals. You know, particularly Russell Group universities who are well funded to address a lot of these, you know, these global issues, that they will start to create courses that fit future needs. So what we've seen in the last you know, couple of years really is a rise in you know, the need for sort of data science, artificial intelligence, linking that with things like engineering and healthcare. So yeah, and there's lots of interesting programs popping up all the time. I'm sure that there's a sort of subject for everyone at university.
Yeah, no, there really is the world of opportunity out there. Not to plug the global tagline there, it is true.
Sure.
In terms of support with like career structures as well, what kind of support does Exeter? I know we touched on it in our last webinar, and you gave some good advice, and I kind of want to reiterate that again in this webinar. What career advice and support does Exeter offer its students?
Yeah, good question. So you know, touching upon what I said in the presentation, just to reiterate that really, so that there's a careers service at the university, and every student has access to that while they're at the university, as well as when they graduate from the university. So there's ongoing career support, you know, in sessional. By that I mean while you're at the university, and also sort of after graduation. The one thing Exeter does in particular, and if you're a business school student, you have your own dedicated careers team, because the business school is our largest college. Outside of that, every student at Exeter will be allocated a personal tutor, and this will be a member of the academic staff who you can go to for questions about, you know, career paths and opportunities that might be there for you after studying on a certain degree program. So if you're studying, you know, for example, psychology, well, you know, obviously not everyone's going to go on to be a clinical psychologist. Not everyone wants to do that. So you can find out about what kind of you know, career pathways are presented to you as a psychology student by speaking with academics outside of the career service. And you're encouraged to do that. You know, academics will have open door, sort of open office hours. They would encourage you to reach out to them and sort of speak to them. Then yeah, engaging in things with the career service, engaging in workshops, opportunities that are presented careers fairs on the campus. Those are all things that will add value to students. So if you're a student on this thinking, what will I need to be doing when I'm at university to make sure that I've got the best opportunities in my lead, is to engage with the opportunities that are there as much as you can. So make use of the career service. Go and meet them. Go and say hello. Find out who they are. Find out what they do, and work with them. Step up, step forward, and engage with those opportunities. And that will add value for you as a student. At Exeter.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important that especially with the pandemic that's happened, the new style of learning, that the students take advantage of those support services. I think it's never been more important than now. One I'd like to ask as well, in terms of, a lot of parents are concerned with sending their kids away now overseas. I know I was in that predicament when I was looking to study overseas when I finished high school. What type of mental support is out there at Exeter, and in terms of counseling support, and if somebody's feeling lonely or missing home, what does Exeter do in that certain instance?
Yeah, well, it's a really good question. Of course, this is something that's been massively increasingly important, in particular in the last 18 months, with people going through lots of things, being away from home, in particular as international students. There's a broad range of support at Exeter, both physical support in terms of like face-to-face appointments with qualified practitioners. There's a sort of health centre at the university itself for obviously not just physical health problems, but mental health problems. The university have invested heavily in the past 12 months in their mental health provision for students and staff, of course, as well. So there's many things that students can do should they need to reach out. It can also be difficult to do that, so we don't just offer sort of face-to-face appointments with our wellbeing and counselling teams. But the university gives students access to a platform called Silver Cloud, for example, where there's lots of resources about mental health, how to look after yourself mentally as a student during these difficult times. So students have options of how they'd like to approach it and how they'd like to get support. As well as that, we've seen current University of Exeter students use their own initiative and offer support to their local communities and their local their friends, their old housemates, and sort of work together to create support bubbles. And so outside of organized support that the university offer, we've seen some amazing examples from students of them just stepping up and getting around their friends and offering support. So it's been really nice to see that over the last sort of 18 months or so.
Yeah, a lot of the feedback I get from those students that we've sent through was that type of support, especially for existing global education alumni students that are at Exeter. We do hear a lot of that, is that type of support and career support guidance. The mental support, especially in the last 18 months, has really improved, or not improved, increased, as I should say.
Yeah.
The one thing I did want to touch on, and I would probably be attacked for not saying it, the rugby side at Exeter. We did a sport webinar, and for anybody listening in, we have shared that webinar, and it is on our YouTube and on our website. So I'll put that link in for everybody. In terms of the rugby culture at Exeter, a lot of South African students, high school students, play really good rugby. Could you quickly touch on what Exeter offers in terms of the rugby for this webinar, and also the lifestyle and the culture with the student life in Exeter? I think is one area I'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. Just to set it out for the students listening in, and if you haven't seen the webinar before, as George said, do go back and look at it. It's valuable, it's insightful. The University of Exeter is a leading rugby university in the UK. So we often top the Bucks, British University and Colleges Sports League table in rugby, both men's and also in women's rugby. We're well placed to have good provision for rugby. Of course, we have a strong partnership with the Exeter Chiefs, who aren't far away from us in Exeter, obviously. So, as I said in the presentation, there's I think 11 different teams. But what we see certainly from South Africa and also, of course, from Zimbabwe, is the students are often interested in what can be offered to them from a UK university in terms of rugby. And the rugby setup at Exeter often, or many students will be led into contracts or opportunities with professional clubs such as the Chiefs. One thing that Keith, the director of rugby, and Rich Hodges, the assistant coach, will always say or want me to highlight is that when you move to the UK to come to university and you're playing rugby for the university, the academic side of things will always come first, and that will always be the priority. Keith and Rich are very keen on that, and so to the extent where some of our best athletes, if their academics slightly drop off, then Keith would sort of stop them from playing rugby for a couple of weeks, make sure that they're okay academically, and it doesn't affect their grades, their attainment. But yeah, there's huge opportunities to play a really good standard of rugby, it's a sort of championship standard, and opportunities to compete for the university at Bucks level. There's actually a really useful profile from a current South African student at Exeter called Todd, who's a number 8 in our first team in our Bucks League. He's South African, he's a rugby player at Exeter, he's studying business economics. And that is a really useful profile to have a look at. So on our webpage, if you type in, if you go onto our webpage, exeter.ac.uk, type in South Africa, open up the South Africa page, there'll be a section that says students from your country, choose South Africa. And you'll see Todd's profile there. And there's a really good insight as to what it's like for a student and what it's like to balance, sporting commitments at university with academic commitments. And particularly for Todd, playing at Bucks level, there's a lot of training. There's a fairly intense training program that's explained in that other webinar we've done. And so he gives a good account about how he balances that lifestyle and what the demands are. So yeah, if you're interested to find out more about that, of course, look at the webinar, look at Todd's profile on our webpage. If you can't find it, let me know in the chat or drop us an email and we'll get it to you. But yeah, it's a good insight into our rugby provision.
If you can send me that link, and I'll make sure everybody in the newsletter and the follow-up gets that link as well. We'll put it through with the recording when we send after this webinar. So I have to ask you this. Last time you were here, you told us one place that you told everybody to go and visit. What are some of the pub lifestyle the students should be aware of? It is part of the culture in studying overseas. A friend who was at Exeter, he said to ask the question. He said, talk about the pub culture.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm glad you've asked actually, because you're right. It's a really important part of university. Socializing with friends, going out, seeing the city. Exeter is not a sprawling metropolis. It's not a massive city like London or like Manchester or Bristol. In Exeter, there's about 140,000 people. If you think about 35,000 of those either work or study at the university. And so for that reason, it feels very much like a university town. You walk into town, there's students everywhere, there's bars, there's restaurants, there's cafes, there's pubs popping up everywhere. So depending on what students are into, there's sort of an environment, there's a place for everyone, depending on what kind of night out they're having, or if they want to chill on the campus. There's a bar at campus, there's a nightclub on the campus. That's actually a really nice point, actually, that many students would prefer to sort of stay on the campus. It's obviously a very safe city, Exeter. In fact, it's consistently ranked in the top 10 safest cities in the UK. But we have a club on campus, we have a bar, etc. We also have a night bus that goes around the city centre in the early hours of the morning if students have gone out after a sports social or something. The night bus is there to drive around, pick university students up for free, drop them back to the campus, safe and sound. Our estate patrol colleagues as well, who are sort of our campus security, if you will, they also go around the city, making sure everyone's enjoying themselves, having a good evening. So yeah, lots of places to go. I couldn't possibly recommend one. You've got to try them all.
I got the same feedback from this friend of mine. It's funny that you said as well. Just a little bit about the one couple of questions that I did get for this webinar was the type of lecturers. Are they from the UK? Are they internationally, from all over the world? Could you go a bit into the type of lecturers that Exeter offers?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to find the stat actually about lecturers, because it was my first thing. Okay, yeah. So in total, we've got over 6,500 staff at the university from over 106 different countries. That gives you a flavour of the sort of global nature of our academic sort of staff setup. So most of the academics that I've worked with directly, but certainly for our work in South Africa, they're from overseas, and they're highly commended sort of researchers. Many of them are from Europe. We have academics from all over the world. So I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, most of them are from the UK. Most academics from the UK. There's a hugely diverse population of academics on the campus. So it depends on the subjects as well. Like different subjects seem to attract academics from different parts of the world, etc. And in particular, as the university's partnerships team, partner with different universities on different continents. There's sometimes staff exchanges, so you might be taught by a visiting lecturer. So there's opportunities to be taught by different faculty staff from different parts of the world. But it's definitely different parts of the world.
Yeah, I think it's important as well. We live in a global world, and to be affected, by a lecture from some part of the world is just going to add to your experience and your own knowledge as well.
Yeah. I mean, a great way to get flavour for this, actually, I should mention this here. If you're a student, you're interested in a certain subject, and you want to know what Exeter's subject like that is for, the sort of virtual open days that we do, you kind of book a slot and you have a presentation delivered by an academic. So it's a good way of finding out, okay, in the law department, I want to go to this open day. You can hear from the staff that teach on that program. So you hear from a couple of lecturers, you'll get an understanding of who they are, what they do, what their research area is. And if you can't do that, if you can't sign up to the sort of virtual open days, you go onto our YouTube channel, just go onto YouTube, type University of Exeter, you'll find our YouTube channel. And you can search on that channel X Talks, EXE Talks. And what that is a really nice series of 10 to 15-minute taster lectures. And we've got probably about 30 different lectures on there at the moment. And they're in the style of sort of TED Talks, sort of short, really compact bits of information. It's a sample of how you would be taught at university. One of them on there, for example, is a law lecturer, and he's talking about sort of the legalities of shipwrecks and ownership of shipwrecks and who's got the rights over shipwrecks. He also talks about sort of treasure as well. Like it's kind of a strange theme that's going on, but that's kind of what university learning can be like, but by some of these world-leading academics who are very niche and very interesting areas of research. So have a look at it on our web page for the open days or on our YouTube site.
Taylor, as always, you eloquently explain the university, present information, and we end up having less questions and more responses afterwards. So if anybody's got any questions, please put them through in the chat box. I know in the Q&A section. I know it was just me typing on some comments earlier on.
No worries, And like I said, if anyone on here is not sure what question to ask now or thinks of a question after this, get in touch with myself or my colleagues at Global Education. Be very happy to follow up with you, have a chat with you personally, and answer any questions you have. But thank you.
For everybody listening in onto this, we will send you a newsletter straight after this webinar, where you'll receive some links from Global as well and from the University of Exeter, the recording of the webinar. And also, sorry to mention as well that with Global, the way we help and counsel our students is to ensure that you're very prepared before you apply, that you've got all the requirements, that that you're going to be able to get a secured application. And the reason why we do that, we put such a rigid place in terms of the application process, is that we work with Taylor, we work with the university to ensure that you've met all the requirements well in advance, and then as well as supporting you on the UCAS system as well. Taylor, I think that's probably one question we can sort of get into now at the end here. Are there any tips or things you noticed in applications that students from South Africa and Zimbabwe could be doing better, or something area that you think should be a focus on?
That's a really good question, and it's worth noting today actually the UCAS opens for 2022 actually today, so it's really it's a timely question. My biggest tip really for the UCAS process is first of all to be prepared, and of course, if you're working with global education, you will have been prepared at this point. You'd be ticking the right boxes at the right time. But my biggest tip really is to understand what the universities want from you. One thing all universities will want from you is a personal statement. And so, when you think about the personal statement, don't worry about the personal statement. Don't let it sort of get you anxious and worried and nervous. What the personal statement is your opportunity to demonstrate to the university that you understand about the course that you're applying to, and to let them know your reasons why. It's probably the only piece of written work the university will see from you. But on that point, ask different universities about how important the personal statement is for them. Now, of course, because you have to submit a personal statement on your UCAS application, it can go to up to 5 different universities. At Exeter, to give you some institutional advice from the University of Exeter, what we're focused on, what we're more keen on, is seeing that students performed really well at high school, that they've attained good grades, and that we think that's the best indicator of their potential to succeed at Exeter. Yes, you're going to have to submit a personal statement as part of your application, but the primary concern for us will be your attainment, because that's the best indicator, we think, for your potential to succeed with us. And of course, in many circumstances, we'll go through your personal statement and make sure that we've read everything, that your profile sort of suits the university. However, I make that point because other universities, depending on which you apply to, other universities might say personal statement is really important, as the primary concern for us, followed by your grades. So that's a really good tip for the UCAS process, to just simply reach out to universities and ask them, how do you view the personal statement? How important is the personal statement to you? And that will help you in your application process. As I said, you have to write one. It goes to all 5 universities if you're applying to this maximum. So it's got to be well written, it's got to be cohesive, it's got to be grammatically straight, so yeah, just take your time, do your research, and it will help. Just before I finalize that, I'm just put into the chat the link for Todd's profile, sorry, about the rugby that I was speaking about earlier. And I know Global Education will include this in the newsletter, but I just want to put that there for anyone that's on the chat now.
Brilliant. I've got that link and I will share it with everybody as well. And I'll put some extra pointers in for everybody on the points that Taylor spoke about as well. And as always, please reach out to Global Education. We're all over South Africa and Zimbabwe, and we're here to help. And that's the main point of our business as well. So Taylor, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time. I know it's a evening there for you, and in the UK there as well. So really appreciate that. Any last points for anybody, and I'll let you close out the webinar.
Thanks a lot, George. Yeah, well, firstly, thanks very much to yourself and Global Education. And I know it's the evening here, but I think it's a bit later where you are. So so thanks to you as well for being here. Yeah, final points really are just to say, we're here to help you, both myself, Global Education. So one of the best things you could do in the build up to applying to universities is just reach out to universities. There are human beings there like me whose job it is to help you. So I'll be delighted to hear from any of you, as with Global Education, my colleagues there, who we work very closely with. So be in touch, reach out, understand as well, engage with opportunities that universities give to you. Things like the sort of virtual, virtual events. You're a virtual event now. If you want to go to virtual open days and stuff, that will really help you. Opportunities to speak with academics, but more importantly, speak with the experts who are the current students here. Those are the guys you want to hear from. The guys that are studying here, they've been in your shoes, they're now studying abroad in the UK, they're from South Africa, they're from Zimbabwe. Find out from them, ask them questions, and then use us to sort of help and support that process. But yeah, other than that, just a massive thank you, and yeah, have a good rest of your evening.
Thanks, Taylor. Good night, everybody. Keep safe, and we'll see you on the next webinar.
Take care, guys.